Most people think willpower is a battery that just runs out, but science shows it's actually a skill you can train like a muscle. If you find yourself constantly reaching for your phone instead of working on your goals, it's not because you're weak, it's because your brain's reward system is tuned to the wrong frequency. Today, we are learning how to rewire your dopamine pathways. I'll show you how to upgrade your prefrontal boss so that doing the hard work feels as rewarding as checking a notification. The willpower illusion. Why trying harder is the wrong strategy. The brain's control center for choices sits in the prefrontal cortex, and it acts like a steady manager. Willpower is a skill you can train. Your mental muscle grows with consistent, tiny challenges, not with heroic bursts of effort. The system that runs your choices is built to seek rewards, not just to follow rules. When you hold a line for a moment, you aren't summoning luck. You are teaching a system to prefer long-term rewards over easy temptations. This is how the reward compass starts to point toward true discipline rather than raw struggle. The dopamine slot machine is constantly at work, pushing you toward quick hits of satisfaction. It loves unpredictable rewards. When you chase novelty, you feel a surge, then a dip, and the cycle keeps looping. That zigzag is why try harder often feels useless after a day or two. The willpower illusion shows up when you think grit alone will reshape your habits overnight. In truth, you are rewiring circuits. You are tuning signals, not just mustering force. The trick is to recognize that willpower is a skill, not a fixed trait. The prefrontal boss can be trained to override impulses more quickly, but it does so best when the environment does part of the work. Treat the brain as a nervous system that responds to consistency, feedback, and small wins. Start by mapping what you truly want in a clear way, because vague goals drain energy. Then design routines that require minimal decision-making at the moment you're weakest. If you want to write 3 pages a day, set up a 15-minute timer, arrange your desk so it's ready, and remove distractions before you sit down. That setup reduces the cognitive load on the mental muscle, so you don't have to rely on sheer will every time. The reward compass will begin to tilt toward the activity you've repeatedly paired with a short, predictable payoff. A practical protocol to strengthen self-discipline breaks temptation into bite-sized pieces. First, design the environment to reduce friction. Put the most tempting options out of reach or behind a deliberate barrier, and place helpful signals where they count. For instance, if you're watching late-night videos, unplug the streaming device and set a rule that you only allow a brief, scheduled break earlier in the evening. Then attach a simple if-then plan to every trigger. If I feel like snacking, then I will have a glass of water and a quick walk. Such plans convert intention into automatic action and protect the prefrontal boss from overloaded decision-making. Next, build tiny, repeated challenges that strengthen the mental muscle. Start with 2 minutes of deliberate practice each day, gradually increasing by a minute every week. Regular small runs add up to real stamina. Third, use predictable rewards that reinforce the right path, not the easy path. After finishing a focused work sprint, allow a brief break with a preferred activity that does not derail the day. This alignment helps the reward compass stay pointed forward. Consistency beats intensity. The dopamine slot machine loses its grip when you create reliable patterns and predictable outcomes. Track progress with a simple log so you can see cause and effect. Note what you did, what happened, and what you'll adjust. When you stumble, regain momentum quickly instead of spiraling. Acknowledge the slip, reset the plan, and move on. Accountability helps too. Share your plan with one friend or coach, and report your results on a regular schedule. That social nudge shifts the burden from pure grit to shared accountability. Sleep, sunlight, and movement matter as well. Low energy and poor mood tilt the scale toward distraction. A basic routine, regular wake time, a short walk outside, and a consistent bedtime keeps the prefrontal boss clear and capable. Over time, you'll find that your self-discipline no longer feels like fighting gravity. It feels like steering a well-tuned machine. The prefrontal boss, understanding the part of your brain that says no to impulses. The prefrontal cortex sits at the front of the brain and acts as the executive manager of planning, decision-making, and impulse control. We call that part the prefrontal boss because it has to say no to quick grabs for comfort and short-term wins. This boss isn't a fixed trait. It grows with deliberate practice. When you treat willpower as a skill you train, you build a crew of small habits that steady the boss during pressure. Behind the boss sits the dopamine slot machine, a playful yet tricky system that wires our cravings. The limbic brain lights up when a tempting option appears, and dopamine gives a quick rush that feels rewarding even if the outcome isn't good in the long run. The boss has to weigh the immediate thrill against bigger future rewards. Because rewards aren't always predictable, the mind learns to chase small, uncertain wins. That's the tug you feel when part of you wants the snack or the scroll, and another part says no. The idea that willpower is a trait can make it feel like a fixed limiter. In reality, it's the mental muscle in action. The more you practice small, controlled acts of restraint, the stronger this muscle becomes. The reward compass helps you align those tiny actions with your bigger goals. It points you toward actions that move you forward and away from things that pull you back. With a steady routine, your brain learns to anticipate outcomes, not just sensations, and the boss gains steadier control. Here is a practical protocol to strengthen self-discipline. Start small. Pick one habit you can do every day for 2 weeks, something doable like a 10-minute study block or a 5-minute planning session. Write an implementation plan. If then rules that map triggers to actions, such as if I finish breakfast, then I open my notebook and write 3 mini goals for the day. Design your environment to make good choices easy and bad choices hard. Remove tempting items, place helpful tools within reach, set a visible timer for work sessions. Build friction for impulses. A 15-minute curiosity pause before acting on a craving or a 2-minute rule that requires waiting before any snack. Use micro-rewards to feed the dopamine slot machine in a healthy way, like earning a short, enjoyable break after finishing a focus block. Track progress with a simple log so you can see the pattern of wins and where the boss slips, and adjust rules as needed. Practice mental rehearsals. Visualize handling a tempting moment with calm steps and a concrete plan, so when real-life pressures hit, you've already run the script. Finally, revisit goals regularly and let small wins recalibrate your reward compass toward long-term success. This is how willpower becomes a skill you can train, not a fixed trait you're stuck with. The dopamine slot machine. How modern tech has hijacked your reward system. Dopamine is a brain chemical that signals reward and anticipation. It lights up when you expect something good and keeps you moving toward it. The idea of the dopamine slot machine comes from how modern tech uses unpredictable rewards to grab our attention. Your brain learns to chase small, quick hits because they feel surprising and valuable in the moment. The prefrontal boss tries to keep you on track, but the slot machine-style feedback loops pull focus away from long-term goals. The reward compass inside you gets spun by every ping, every new like, every alert that promises a tiny win. Modern devices feed the habit by turning ordinary actions into a game. A notification pops up with a little cue, you decide to check, and you might see something fresh and rewarding. The hit isn't constant, it's irregular, and that irregularity makes your brain leak dopamine again and again. The effect is subtle but real. Your brain starts to expect rewards at unpredictable moments, so it craves the next cue as much as it craves the reward itself. You learn to chase the next notification as a form of self-validation. The familiar voice of the prefrontal boss tries to veto the impulse, but the environment is stacked against it, with rewards waiting just a glance away. That's how the tech world hijacks your internal playlist of motivation. Here's a practical protocol to strengthen self-discipline and keep the dopamine slot machine from steering your day. Start by mapping your triggers. Notice when you reach for your phone and what you expect to get. The goal is to expose the pattern without blame, so you can rewrite it. Next, shrink the number of tempting signals. Mute non-essential alerts, relocate your phone during focused work, or use a simple screen setting that makes scrolling less inviting. By trimming the cues, you reduce the frequency of unpredictable rewards. Then add friction for the habits you want to curb. A longer route to access apps, a password to unlock, or a deliberate pause can slow you down enough to choose a smarter action. Friction gives your prefrontal boss time to decide, and time is powerful. When you replace the old reward with healthier, reliable ones, willpower grows stronger. After a moment of craving, try a small, immediate substitute that aligns with your goal. Water, a stretch, a quick walk, a chat with a friend about something real. These steady, predictable rewards train your brain to value patience and effort over instant hits. Pair this with clear if-then plans for temptations. For example, if I feel drawn to check a notification, then I will stand up, take 3 deep breaths, and do a tiny task that moves a real goal forward. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about reprogramming the habit loop so the right action becomes the easy action. Finally, track your progress in a simple, human way. Keep a light log of moments you resisted and moments you gave in, noting what made the choice easier or harder. Let the log be a map, not a judge. Celebrate tiny wins and treat setbacks as part of the training. The truth is that willpower is a skill you can train, not a fixed trait you're born with. The mental muscle grows stronger when you practice brief, focused efforts that don't rely on luck or momentary motivation. The reward compass will reorient itself as you repeat this process, steering you toward choices that align with your longer-term goals, not the next buzz. Mental muscle memory. How small acts of discipline physically thicken your brain. Your brain actually changes when you practice discipline. That change comes from neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself with use. Mental muscle memory means tiny acts of self-control leave stronger, faster pathways. Think of the prefrontal boss steering decisions, the dopamine slot machine rewarding quick hits, and the reward compass quietly nudging you toward the right path. Willpower is a skill, not a fixed trait. When you repeat a small act, you thicken the circuits that control behavior. A habit built through daily practice makes your brain less hungry for instant chaos and more ready to choose the long walk. Start with a microhabit you can do in under 2 minutes. Attach it to a daily cue, like after you brush your teeth. Do the tiny action immediately, then give yourself a small, healthy reward. That reward serves the dopamine slot machine, teaching your brain to associate effort with relief and progress. Track every day with a simple checkmark on a calendar. If you slip, reset quickly and reattach the cue the next day. No big guilt, just a fresh start. Increase by 1 minute or by a second tiny habit every week as the prefrontal boss grows more confident. Try habit stacking. Tie the new microhabit to an existing routine so the cue is automatic. Keep the environment supportive. Remove temptations and create obvious paths. A simple habit example. Drink a glass of water and write 1 sentence about your goal right after waking. That small action, repeated daily, strengthens the circuits that plan ahead. Another example. Before lunch, stand up, stretch, and take 3 deliberate breaths. The brain learns to pair effort with a positive feeling and the prefrontal circuits become more efficient. When you delay a reward or do a task you planned, you fire the reward compass toward healthier choices. If you slip, notice the trigger, adjust the cue, and return. Habit stacking and consistent practice help thickening brain tissue around self-control pathways. Sleep, stress management, and good nutrition support this work. Without rest, the brain cannot consolidate these changes, so small runs fade. Regular review helps your mental muscle remember what matters. Keep a simple journal. What microhabit you did, how you felt, and what cue worked. Over weeks, the prefrontal boss learns to plan ahead with less struggle and the dopamine slot machine gives you tiny, reliable wins. That is why willpower is a skill you train, not a fixed trait. With patience and steady practice, your reward compass can point true north toward lasting discipline. The conflict signal. Why the struggle is actually the sound of your brain growing. Willpower is a skill you train, not a fixed trait. The brain's reward system runs on dopamine and loves quick wins. When a tempting option lights up, the dopamine slot machine fires and pulls your focus toward instant reward. The conflict signal arrives as effort, friction, and discomfort. That struggle isn't error, it's data. It's the sound of your brain growing into a stronger guide. The prefrontal boss fights for long-term goals, while the dopamine slot machine whispers for now. This push-pull is the core of how self-control is learned. Each moment you resist, you're rewiring the brain. Small choices, repeated often, build new paths. The mental muscle grows through hard representatives and steady practice. The reward compass will start pointing you toward actions that fit your bigger aims. The conflict signal, when listened to, tells you you're training, not failing. Practical protocol follows. First, choose a tiny habit to improve. Make it something you can do today. Next, create an if-then plan. If I face X, I will do Y. Make the tempting option harder to reach. Hide the phone, place the snack out of sight. Attach a micro-reward, a 5-minute walk after you write, or a small chart mark for consistency. Keep a simple log of successes and when the struggle showed up. Review once in a while to adjust the plan. Support the process with good sleep, steady stress control, and light movement. Use the reward compass to check if the action moves you toward a core goal. Expect the conflict signal to buzz for a while. That is normal. Every time you write it out, the mental muscle firms up. Willpower remains a skill you sharpen, not a trait you either have or lack. If you stumble, reset quickly and start again. Small, consistent practice beats big but sporadic effort. Over time, you will notice longer stretches of focus and fewer slips. Pre-commitment. Using logic to trap your future self into doing the right thing. Willpower is a skill you can train, not a fixed trait. Pre-commitment uses logic today to guide your future self. The prefrontal boss sits in charge of plans and self-control, and it can set rules that overrule quick urges. The dopamine slot machine pulls you toward easy rewards, so pre-commitment locks in the right moves before those pulls take over. The reward compass points you toward long-term gains, not fleeting wins. Your mental muscle grows when you practice these moves, not when you wait for the perfect mood. Here is a practical protocol to strengthen this skill. First, choose a clear goal with a real outcome and a simple deadline. Then craft implementation intentions, if-then plans that bridge thinking and doing. For example, if the clock reaches 3 p.m. and I feel a dip in energy, I will drink water and take a 5-minute walk. Next, design the surroundings to support the plan. Remove obvious temptations, set up defaults that favor the right action, and schedule the activity at a fixed time so it becomes automatic. Add a commitment device, tell a friend, sign a tiny contract with yourself, or link the outcome to a small cost if you slip. Finally, set up short, regular reviews to adjust as needed and celebrate small wins. The aim is steady practice, not perfection, and the idea is that the brain learns by repeating the move. Real-world examples make this concrete. A snack habit can be tackled by placing fruit and water at hand and putting treats out of sight. If 2 p.m. hits, you eat fruit and drink water, not a cookie. For study, you time block a 60-minute focus period, and during that block you shut down social apps. For saving, you set up an automatic transfer right after payday and avoid touching that money. For workouts, you place your gym bag by the door and book the time on the calendar, so getting there becomes the default choice. Public commitments can help, too. Tell a friend your plan and share progress each day so the promised action feels real. In the end, pre-commitment trains the brain to rely less on raw willpower and more on smart setups. The dopamine slot machine loses some power when the tempting path is blocked or delayed. The mental muscle strengthens as you repeat the same move and see small wins stack up. The reward compass stays aligned with long-term goals because you've wired a predictable route to those rewards. Willpower is a skill you build, one planned decision at a time, by designing what happens before you act and by practicing until the right choice becomes the easy choice. Reward calibration. How to make long-term goals feel more exciting than snacks. Willpower is a skill you train, not a fixed trait. The brain's reward system lights up when we expect a payoff, and the prefrontal boss tries to steer choices toward long-term wins. The dopamine slot machine fires when a tempting snack, a quick scroll, or a small treat promises fast pleasure. Treat willpower as a skill and you gain a way to practice it, like lifting a mental weight and getting stronger over time. Reward calibration is the idea of making long-term goals feel more exciting than snacks by adjusting how your brain values each option. Reward calibration is about retooling the moment of choice. The reward compass helps you align daily decisions with the target you want. Your brain learns faster when rewards feel meaningful and when effort is clearly linked to a future win. Small changes in how you set up rewards can shift what you crave in the moment. With practice, the prefrontal boss becomes steadier, and the dopamine slot machine starts to favor effort over impulse. Here is a practical protocol you can follow. First, name a simple, specific long-term goal and pair it with a clear, nearby microgoal. If your target is better health, your microgoal might be a 15-minute walk after lunch. If you want stronger finances, it could be a $5 transfer to savings after every purchase you resist. Then set a counter-reward that directly ties to the microgoal, such as a short stretch, a quick playlist, or 5 minutes of a favorite show only after you complete the effort. Create a visual cue, like a small card on your desk, that reminds you why this matters and what you'll gain. The key is to cut the distance between action and payoff so the brain's reward system wires the effort to the win. Next, shape the environment to reduce friction. Remove easy snacks from the sightline and place water, fruit, or a healthy alternative within reach. Put your phone in another room when you study, so the next dopamine hit is a real, prepared plan rather than a random urge. Pre-commitment helps too. If your plan is to study for 25 minutes, tell a friend or lock in a reminder that you won't quit early. When cravings arrive, use a quick check. Will the expected future reward be worth the immediate urge? If the answer is yes, proceed. If not, switch to a small, high-leverage task that still moves you toward the goal. Track progress in a simple log. Mark days you hit the microgoal and note what made it easier or harder. Review weekly to spot patterns and adjust the reward compass accordingly. If cookies feel irresistible, test a swap, a fruit plate, a yogurt, or a warm cup of tea with a tiny chocolate piece only after you've completed the effort. Over time, you'll notice your brain starts to value the long-term payoff more than the snack because the signals get reinforced. A concrete example helps. A student wants better grades and less procrastination. The long-term goal is a consistent study rhythm that leads to a better exam score. The micro-goal is 20 minutes of focused study after lunch, followed by a 5-minute break. The reward is a short walk or a favorite podcast, earned only after that study block. The dopamine slot machine is tuned by removing tempting snacks from the study area and by using a timer to create predictable effort and reward. The prefrontal boss learns to plan the day the night before, not in the moment of craving. If you stay curious and steady, this system becomes second nature. Willpower stays a skill you sharpen, not a spark you wait for. You're shaping your brain to seek long-term wins, not the next bite or buzz. The mental muscle grows with every intentional choice that aligns with your reward compass. And you'll find that long-term goals begin to feel more exciting than snacks, because the right cues, small wins, and clear plans steer your actions toward real progress. The recovery protocol. Why willpower needs rest and glucose to function. Willpower is a skill, not a trait. The brain uses glucose as its main fuel for thinking and resisting urges. The prefrontal boss shines when it has rest and steady energy, but fatigue makes it falter. When you push this boss without rest, small cravings can grow into bigger lapses. The recovery protocol starts with rest. Sleep acts as a nightly reboot for the mind, helping you stay calm, focused, and able to delay gratification. Breaks are not a waste. They reset the system and keep the brain from going on overload. Think of breaks as pit stops for the mental engine, not as interruptions to progress. Glucose matters, but the type and timing matter too. The brain runs best on steady energy, not on quick sugar crashes. Choose meals and snacks that give slow, reliable energy, protein with fiber and healthy fats, plus complex carbs. This keeps the dopamine slot machine from swinging too wildly and helps the prefrontal boss stay steady during tough choices. Skipping meals or letting energy plummet makes it harder to say no to temptations later. Keep a little snack handy before tough tasks to keep the gears turning smoothly. A balanced bite can smooth out the afternoon slump and preserve the mental muscle for the next decision. The idea is not to spike energy, but to sustain it so attention stays sharp and choices stay aligned with your goals. With steady fuel, the reward compass stays pointed toward worth-it actions rather than flashy, momentary rewards. Plan the day so rest and effort are balanced. Build in short, focused work blocks followed by real rest or light activity. Use simple routines that your brain can glide through without extra mental effort. The dopamine slot machine loves a predictable pattern, so consistency beats sudden, heavy bursts of willpower. This protocol teaches your brain that restraint can come from rhythm, not just willpower alone. Practice small self-control tasks regularly to strengthen the skill. Start with tiny choices, like choosing water over a sugary drink or taking a brief walk after a meal. These micro-wins compound, building the mental muscle and expanding what you can handle when a bigger temptation appears. The reward compass becomes a truer guide, pointing you toward actions that fit your long-term goals, not just the next momentary thrill. You don't need a new personality, you just need a better trained brain. Your willpower is a skill you can train, not a fixed personality trait. The brain's reward system can be reshaped through small, repeatable actions. The prefrontal boss sits at the helm, planning, pausing impulses, and keeping long plans in view. Behind the scenes, the dopamine slot machine pulls on cravings, rewarding quick wins unless you recalibrate. With steady practice, the mental muscle grows stronger and the reward compass points closer to your true goals. Begin with tiny, concrete choices you can repeat daily. Put one small habit in place that directly supports your aim. If you want to eat less junk, prepare a healthy snack and keep it visible. Then make clear if-then plans to bridge urges. Example, if I crave a snack at 3 p.m., I will drink a glass of water and take a short 5-minute walk. Design your space so friction is higher for bad options and easier for good ones. Push temptations out of reach and keep reminders of your goal in sight. Use tiny rewards after sticking to the plan, not after scattered effort. Keep a simple log of daily wins to train the reward system. When a work task needs focus, set a 25-minute block and close distractors. During health goals, schedule workouts at the same time and pair them with a ritual you enjoy. For study, break material into bite-sized chunks and celebrate completion with a micro-break. If you stumble, Pause, recheck your intent, and reset the plan. The reward compass helps you stay aligned by linking daily actions to a bigger purpose. The dopamine slot machine will still tempt, so keep new micro-rewards that fit your goals. You don't need a new personality, you just need a better trained brain. Treat discipline as training a muscle, not a light switch. Start small, stay patient, and let the brain adapt. Over time, small wins compound and the prefrontal boss becomes steadier. Willpower is a skill, not a trait. Think of it as training the brain's reward system. The prefrontal boss guides you, the dopamine slot machine rewards you, and your mental muscle grows with practice. The reward compass keeps you aimed at real goals. Try this simple protocol. 1. Pick one micro-habit you can do in 2 minutes or less every day. 2. Design a clear cue. Put it somewhere obvious and link it to an existing routine, habit stacking. 3. Make the path easy and pleasant. Remove friction. Keep the step simple. 4. Give yourself a tiny immediate reward after completing the habit, a sip of water, a quick stretch, a tiny celebration in your mind. 5. Track your streak. A calendar mark or a simple note works. 6. Build gradually. After a week or 2, add one small extra step or push the time by a minute. 7. Protect your energy. Sleep, hydration, and movement fuel the mental muscle. With time, you'll feel the prefrontal boss steadier under pressure and the dopamine slot machine start rewarding progress, not just instant hits. This is how willpower becomes something you can train, not something you're stuck with. If you're watching, you're here for a plan that fits real life. You can do this. It's about showing up, not about being perfect. Give the 7-day plan a try. Share your first tiny habit in the comments or drop a quick update on how it went. If this helped, a like and a subscribe would mean a lot. In the next videos, I'll break down each piece: how to design better cues, how to choose rewards that actually stick, and how to review progress without feeling stuck. We'll build a practical, reusable plan you can use again and again.